made the front legs, the front frame, and now I've got to make the back frame. This is a simple bit, of course, because there's only 4 sticks involved. But on the back frame, I've got to take the legs and decide how they're going to fit together, how far apart they want to be in relationship. This is a child's chair, by the way, in case you're thinking it's a bit small. And then I've marked on which direction's forward, so I can always relate to the chair. So I mark on which direction's forward and where the cross pieces are going to be. And then I can mark on the heights of the cross pieces. Then that allows me, in the end, to see whether I'm going to have to put any of the cross pieces a bit longer than the others, because in this case you can see there's a gap just here. So if I made all the pieces the same length, the one just here wouldn't fit. So I've got to look at that and say, well, okay, here I'm going to have to extend. Oops. The cross piece at the bottom's okay, the cross piece just there is okay, the cross piece just there is okay. But just here I'm going to have to extend it by ½ an inch. So one of my cross pieces is going to have to be ½ an inch longer. Right. I'll look around for the 4 pieces I've already decided are going to be. Top. And I need the back rail, which I'm just looking for. Right, so there's going to be 4 cross pieces. I've already decided on the bits of wood. Clear the nets a bit. And I've got to mark these out. Some nice features on some of these bits of wood. Try and find decent bits of wood. They've got a really nice figure on. With children's chairs, you have to be a little bit careful. I have made chairs that have frightened kids before now. They would sit on them. That's a nice child's chair, the adults think, and they get it for the kid and they run away screaming. Just a little bit too gothic. So, front cross pieces are 13, 15. I want the back to be at least an inch less. So I'll make that 12. Yeah, 12 will do. I tend to do a lot of muttering when I'm doing this kind of thing, of course. Helps me think. So I want these 14 inches. Yep, that's going to work. This one's got a blemish on one end I want to get rid of, so I'll get rid of that first. That is a feature of something. Table nice and low. Now this is the top piece that's going to go across the top. I want that 14. Yeah, I tend just to use these little saws.
No.
Because they're so much easier. Carting around, and the Japanese make beautiful saws, so it costs a lot more than an English one, but it cuts a lot better for a lot longer. Now, before I do cut the other pieces, I'm going to put the joints on this, for which I use some fairly exotic tools. They're old wheelwright's tools from the days of wagons. I'm going to mark off 1 inch on either end, so I want a 1 inch long tenon. In order to make that visible, it's best to cut in allows me to see where I'm working to a lot better than a pencil mark on this bark does. Right, this is going to be interesting because this is quite featureful. It has a lot going on at the end. You can see how well the tools work on it. So, in order to make a good tenon, I use, first of all, this is called a dowel pointer. It's like a sort of glorified pencil sharpener. I'm just checking I'm not going to lose my mark here. So that makes the end down to 3/4 of an inch, which means I can now put the hollow auger, which is a tenoning tool, on. Check my mark. Scared off one potential customer. Whoops.
Yes. Nay. Should we be in next?
And that'll give us a
Monday.
perfect tenon.
Can you still get those wrappers in Mark there?
These, you have to buy them second hand. They make electric versions now,
Oh, do they?
but I don't really like the finish they give. Because the thing about this is it gives a nice square shoulder. Right, I'm making this out of hazel. It grows in lots of nice shapes in the hedges. There's huge amounts of it. It's a coppiced wood. And it's very sustainable as well because when you cut it down it grows again, which allows you to infinite supply of the stuff. Also, I was interested to find out that a hazel tree, if you just grow the hazel tree as a tree for nuts, it'll live about 80 years. But there's coppiced stalls that are 1,000 years old. That, you know, they just will survive that much longer. Now, I'm going to try and get this parallel. Should be an inch long. A little measuring tool that I carry around. It's not quite long enough, that one. A little bit more. Come in. Hello. No, a bit longer. Yeah, no, I'm always throwing things off the bench. There. That's just about right. Now, I read somewhere in a book that a rustic chair should look like it's just come out of the woods. It should feel like an old friend. So it's a question of now I've got to work with this piece of wood, remove anything that's going to catch on you or sharp or rough parts. It's actually a little bit funny, this wood, but I'm going to use it now. It's like the shape. The other thing you do when making a chair is the upright pieces in the chair. You dry outside, or you use them quite green. But the cross pieces, all of these pieces that go across, you dry inside for at least 2 or 3 months. And that way, when you put the chair together, this part doesn't shrink, but the upright can shrink, and it will make a tighter joint on there. A little trick that you've got to use everything you can to keep chairs together. They take a lot of stick. Right, so that's one cross piece. It's taken me all that time to make. I will now, like I say, I'm going to look over it for any particularly rough bits. This table's a bit slippery. Let's try it the other way around.
No, I don't believe that. I just put details in. You see what you do. You don't need all those. Because I don't want to do that.
So I'll give this a light sand as well. This is why I'm always consigned to the garage. Most of this wood's coppiced wood, so it's it comes from natural the cycle that we have in the woods. Every 7 years or so, you harvest a complete crop of hazel. This particular stuff's come from just over the border in Lancashire. We've got a place called Middlewood where I work sometimes. It's quite most British woodlands, deciduous woodlands, have got a good understory of hazel that we've been using for centuries for baskets, furniture, hurdles, all kinds of things. So now I've made the tenons, I have to now make the holes for the mortises for those to go into. So the only thing you've got to remember with these, very tight fit, is it's easiest to do it on the floor because you've got to have them vertical. So that's 2. I've got 2 more to do. I have to make sure I have my arrow pointing upright. This is quite easy, this one, because it lies flat. The other one I'm going to have to get a bit more creative with. Look for the mark. Because I do quite a lot of this, I've got all my tools are marked at the right depth, so I can just always drill to 1 1/4 inches. No, I haven't done anything wrong. Just looked a bit wrong there for a moment. Now then, this is how is this all going to fit together? Did I cut everything the right length? Did I drill the holes at the right angles?
Yeah, I'm impressed with that.
Got a bit of a twist on it,
Yeah.
but I can get rid of that. Someone next door shouting, "Come in." If I just
Twist and shout.
twist and shake. Now I still have got a little bit of, I'm not quite happy with the way that meets. I think I've just got to take a
Bottom
bit
rung.
off the bottom rung.
If you do that, then
We'll allow that to meet all right. Yeah. It's got a little bit of a twist in the way the holes are drilled as well. I'll probably pull that out there.
I'm impressed
What
with
you
that.
often find is you can change the twist by moving things. Individual sticks have got a bit of twist in it or something. And then you can see this one up the top. I'm going to have to do a little bit of adjustment
Right,
here,
yeah.
so that'll sit in, which is actually quite easy. I'm not rotating, I'm just going to take a bit off it.
Yeah.
And if I saw along there, take a bit off the shoulder. It'll sit in a bit better, then I can do it again.
Yeah.
As long as you make sure you don't saw down too far. But then once you've done this, you have to mark the pieces with which way's up as well, so that, you know, it's all...
Match that. I suppose the fewer times you can dismantle it as well as
Yes.
better, because you keep on changing the grip of the dowel and the...
Yeah, what I will try and do is I can mark up the back pieces now
Yes.
because it's not going to change the distance between them at all.
Yeah.
But then I will adjust the length slightly in order to get the shapes that I'm looking for. So now I've got to position these, cut them to length and let them into these two pieces.
Right.
Then I'll finish the back.
So the uprights you'll actually assemble before those two.
I'll take this out.
Okay.
I'll be able to mark them up now.
Right.
Because, especially when I use some with arches on,
Yes.
and you can measure as many times as you want and still not get it right. There's nothing like actually looking at it in situ,
Yeah.
and then I'll drill holes into either side.
So that mortise you can go direct onto these sticks then, they're uprights.
These, I have got another one that's smaller, but with the smaller sticks, I quite often just use a penknife. For one thing, they're not structural.
No.
Yeah. And that means that you just don't have to get them as precise. They're positively located. There's no way they can come out.
No.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So once they're captive, it's quite nice. Just
You're right.
so when it's dry and you finish, it's sanded down. All the wood starts to look a bit dead. If you mix linseed and white spirit together, half and half, and put it on, all the shine and the lustre comes back to the wood, just like the growing bark in the forest. So that's always nice.
I think it's fantastic. We're going to run out of space, aren't we, basically?
But I noticed as soon as I bring a chair in, about half a dozen bags get stuck on it. Cushions.